And now, please welcome back on stage Pro Vice Chancellor for your final concluding reflections.
Well, first, I just want to thank all of our speakers for not only coming here, but really contributing different perspectives from different countries, different systems, and also from different levels in the system. And I think it gave all of us a lot of inspiration and a lot of ideas. And I'm really pleased with your contributions today. And it's difficult to really summarize everything here. But I did like Bab's short statement. It's really important to know thyself and to concentrate on doing things that you're really good at. And I think we have a pretty good idea of what our strengths are, but I think we can know ourselves better. And this also applies even to working towards the SDGs. Choose the ones which are appropriate, focus on the ones where you think you really can make a difference. And then how to make a difference, I think there are a lot of different ideas, a lot of different approaches, and they depend on, I guess, where we start, where we want to go, and who we are. So different centers of excellence have very different challenges, and maybe the distance also to the stakeholders is sometimes very different and sometimes very different to even gauge. But I think we have a couple of very good examples within Lund Center of Excellence that we can learn from. But I think that a lot of thought around where to put our effort and how to really develop a good understanding of how to package our research and whether we want to package it in a different way than we're doing already today could be useful. I was really interested about the different approaches to dialogue with government and also the role of government. So we had a representative from a funding agency, which certainly gets the money from the government, just as we do at universities, but still the government is a different organization. And I think there is a trend to have less confidence in the decisions of the government. We see many signs of that, and that we also do not like it when the government tries to point out exactly what we should do research on. And that was one of the things that I think was a stumbling block for the Swedish Strategic Research Area Initiative. But on the other hand, the government can also open the door for this kind of quite remarkable activity, which is an agent for change. And we've seen many good examples of that today. Recruitment is definitely one of my pet peeves or pet areas, and I was happy to hear this from actually many of us from the university perspective in Lund, from the university in Nottingham, and also from the funding agencies reflecting on this is the role of the university, and this is something we need to take seriously, but this is also, I think, one of our most powerful agents for change, for changing not only research, profiling, but also even education. And the centers of excellence are not just about research. I think that's very clear for everybody in the room. But how we can really use centers of excellence also to make education attractive in order to profile our university, not only research on the national level, but really on a much broader level. I think this is something we need to think about more in Lund. And the question of trust came up also in many different contexts. Trust is what we need to build with the government. Trust is also what we need to build with our stakeholders, but also in Lund, I think that trust between university leadership, faculty leadership, and the centers of excellence is a foundation for everything that we are doing here. And this is absolutely important. And things can happen that can challenge that trust, and we have to continuously be aware of what these things can be. Leadership is a very important thing. I think I knew that from the beginning, but we've also understood that centers of excellence are not just research groups, they're not just research projects, and that means that leadership has to maybe think in a different way and has to have not only a strong vision, but also the ability to bring in a lot of different people with maybe different point of view and different starting points to work on the same, towards the same goal. And this is not the same kind of leadership that we have in a research group or maybe even in a university leadership position. So the focus on leadership, I think that's also a very, very important aspect. Cement versus renewal was also a theme that came up in a few different ways. I don't think anybody wants to see in 2030 that we have strategic research areas in Lund that look exactly the same as they did in 2009 when the applications were written. But how to renew and how to grow and how to also be able to address the changes taking place outside of the university. I think this is a challenge that we have to learn how to deal with. And the fact that often external forces, for example, the plateau effect, where we all of a sudden have to make decisions on what do we have to take away in order to do something new. This is difficult and necessary sometimes, that maybe it doesn't have to be so drastic. But all in all, I think it's been a really interesting afternoon, and I think that we've seen many reasons why centers of excellence or larger research environments are a necessary element for university research, but also for really going outside of the borders of the university and also across the borders of our sometimes very well-defined disciplines that have survived for 400, 500, 600 years. So these are really an absolutely necessary element for renewal and for change. And I guess on that note, I just want to say that I'm very optimistic about how the Lund Centers of Excellence or the strategic research areas have developed during the last 5 years. And I'm very impressed by the leadership and by the vision of the people who are leading our centers. And I look forward to continuing this very fruitful dialogue within Lund. Thanks.